Can you tell us what you found from the studies about blood glucose values?
Yeah, I would love to. It was really, really encouraging. What we saw was across the course of the day, with all the subjects involved in the studies, we saw a significant drop in overall blood glucose levels. And this was what we would call an intention to treat analysis. So it included those 15% of people for whom this did not work, because that's of course the way you need to do those analyses. But for me, the more intriguing observation was when you split the cohort up into those who had what I will say poorly controlled blood glucose levels. So their HbA1c was at 7 or higher, or you looked at people with reasonably well controlled blood glucose. So their HbA1c was below 7. Those people, when we did an estimate of HbA1c levels, the people who had poorly controlled, they saw their levels drop, their estimated levels drop by about 1.2, which was massive change. And the people who had fairly well controlled, theirs dropped as well by only about 0.4. So still important, absolutely, but not surprising given that their blood glucose levels are already down. But the fact that it was statistically significant across the entire cohort, again, something that was really, really encouraging for us.
That's great to hear. And that was really just following the 3 meals with following the score and the snack and keeping to your score.
That was it. It was just simply following the 3 meals with plus a snack a day and eating to the score. That's all they had to do.
Sounds easy.
It is easy.
So another question that we get is, how do individuals get their personalized Thrive score?
That's a really good question, because that's such a critical element of how Thrive365 works. We use the Mifflin-St. Jewer equation, which is a well-documented and highly researched equation for estimating daily caloric needs. And so that asks for gender at birth, your height, your weight, your age, and your activity level. And entering that information in, we can estimate your daily caloric needs. We then take that and we put that into the algorithm that we use that then translates that estimate into a daily Thrive365 score. And so a daily Thrive365 score, for example, of 35 would mean a meal of 10, a meal of 10, a meal of 10, and then a snack of 5. So breakfast 10, lunch 10, dinner 10, snack 5. Me, a score, I think of it though in terms of my meal score. So I'm a 14, I have to do the backwards math. 14, 28, 42, half 40, so I'm a 49. 49 would be my daily score. 14 breakfast, 14 lunch, 14 dinner, and 7 snack.
So you have that in your head, that's your daily score, but the person who's actually using the program, they just eat to the score for each of their meals and each of their snacks.
Right, and I think that even though we assign a daily score, most people will be like me and forget it. They will know their meal score, because that's the score that's important, is the meal score. If your meal score happens to be an odd number, let's say it's an 11, your snack is going to be probably a 5.
So when a person opens up their Thrive365 program, they'll see the Thrive365 dashboard, and that will be broken up into their individual meals. How do they then, how does this all work for them?
That's the beautiful part of the design now of the interface for Thrive365. As you pull it up, you'll see your target score, your target meal score, in the middle of a circle. And then there are 4 quadrants around that. 1 for breakfast, 1 for lunch, 1 for dinner, 1 for a snack. Each one of those has the score associated with it as well. So you'll see the primary score in the middle, but as you choose foods within the dashboard, for breakfast, let's say, and add it in, the bar for that quadrant of breakfast goes from red, because you're too low, at 0, to yellow perhaps, to green. And when it goes green, perfect. And it remembers that and logs it in for you. The same thing happens at lunch or at dinner. And so for any day, you'll see, oh, I had greens all the way around. Oh, I had a red on this, or I had an amber on that. We also have a calendar view. so you can look across the month and see how you're doing across the month. And that's helpful because you might look and say, oh, you know, it seems that on lunch, I'm always a little bit under or a little bit over, and it helps people recalibrate perhaps. So we give them that larger view as well.
Right. And I heard you say also that they can say, you know, they can create like regular meals. Speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, it was a nice add-on that as we were developing this new interface for Thrive365, the most recent one, you know, we found that people, particularly around breakfast, but also other meals, they have their favorite foods, and they don't want to have to go looking for that food every time they're trying to say, well, this is what we're going to have for breakfast. So we have built in, you know, your favorite foods or your favorite meals. My wife eats virtually the same breakfast every day, and she would just say, yep, I had breakfast. It's logged. That's why you can go in and go out in 30 seconds.
And you're done.
And
Move
you're
on.
done.
Go back. Go do other things that are
Exactly.
important.
More important things. Exactly. Give yourself more time for more important things.
Can you share with us some examples of how Thrive365 impacted people?
Yeah, there's some really good stories there. These are people who use Thrive365. I remember one gentleman saying he got up one morning and he actually went out and shoveled the driveway, which he hasn't done in years. And he said, you know, usually my blood glucose levels are around, you probably said blood sugar levels around 250. And that day he said they were actually below 100. And then he said, I ain't never seen my numbers that low before. And then there was another gentleman who was an accountant. And he told us that he had trouble in the afternoons. He said, I just would get the afternoon fog, tough to concentrate. It just was tough on him. And he said now, a few days into eating on the Thrive365 approach, he didn't have that anymore. And then sort of as an offhand comment, he said, you know, I haven't felt, just quietly, he said, I haven't felt this good since I was in my 30s. I don't know how old he was, but he wasn't more than 50, I don't think. So really, really interesting stories. There are others like that, but really, really nice to hear.
That's amazing. And really they just followed the program, right? I mean, I just go back to this, right? They ate to their score for breakfast, to their score for lunch, to their score for dinner, and to their score for a snack.
Yeah, you say it's not rocket science, and it's not, but nutrition is a science, and it's a complex and complicated science. And when you layer on top of that type 2 diabetes, that makes it even more so. And the beauty is that we've been able to take that complexity and simplify it down in a way that really enables anybody to take control of their diet. Now, the reality is that it's a healthy way to eat for anybody, honestly. But people with who are living with type 2 diabetes, they are going to feel that change. And they're going to feel it within a couple of days. And I think that's what's so exciting.
And I think the fact that they actually feel it and they start feeling better, then they want to do it again the next meal. And they want to do it the next day, and then the next day. And then maybe one day they will eat outside of their score, right? And then they actually will notice that they won't feel as well. So then the next meal they'll go and eat to their score. So I like how that really simple way kind of impacts their behavior change and helps them kind of continue with this healthy eating plan.
Yeah, it really does. It's funny. I love apples. Turns out in my older age, I've developed an allergy to apples. Yep, I can't eat apples anymore. If I have an apple, I know immediately why I can no longer eat apples. And it's the same thing with Thrive365. You've been eating away for long. Now you can eat again, and you can choose foods that you thought you'd never have again, fitting them within your score. If you go off a bit, if you eat that apple for me, or if you stop paying attention to your Thrive365 score, you'll know right away, I think. Oh, that was a boo-boo. I better go back again. And
what I like about it is that it's easy to start, right? You go through, you fill out these, quick questions, you get your score, and you're there. You don't have to think twice, because all the foods that you eat are part of it. You have your first meal, Okay, that was easy, you know. Then you have your second meal, and then you start feeling better, right? And then once you start feeling better, you're like, you can shovel the driveway, and you can play with your grandkids, and then it just becomes a way of life. And since you can eat where you want, home, out, it's self-perpetuating.
Yeah, and it's liberating for people in that regard. Yeah, it is a structure.
Yeah.
No question, there's a structure to it.
Right.
But that structure really liberates people in the way in which they can have. Anybody who's living with type 2 diabetes put structure around their meal plans anyways, and this just really enables them. Another comment, you've given me back my love of food.
Oh,
You've given me back my love of food. Wow.
That's nice. That's a big
nice.
one. Thank you so much. That was really wonderful. We've covered a lot of ground. Is there anything that you want to share in closing?
I'd probably say that, you can trust the science. It's simple. It's a simple offering for you. It's sort of plug and play and get out of the way. It creates for you trackable data analytics, and honestly, you can trust the simplicity.
Thank you. And thank you very much for listening to what we have to share with you. And if you need any more information, don't hesitate to reach out to us.